Hi, take a seat. Oh, it's nice to meet you. First and foremost, congratulations. Oh, very exciting. So, did Anthea ask if you wanted a coffee, tea, champagne, something like that? Yep. Okay, perfect. Good, good, good. She won't take too long with that. Okay. So, when did you get engaged? That's pretty recent. Oh, that's still super fresh and exciting then. Oh, that's very exciting. Congratulations again. Okay, so I have all of your personal details here from the intake from when you made the appointment. And then Anthea's gotten you to fill out just the form with all the preliminaries like address, things like that. So that's all good. We won't need to do that. So the purpose of today's consultation, which is complimentary, just to get to know a little bit about what you want out of your wedding, some basic information about that. It's okay if you haven't really thought about it, but at least that way we can get the conversation going so that we know what we need to do. So, tell me a little bit about yourself and your fiance. Okay. Okay, what's their surname? Okay, perfect. So how long have you been together? That's cute. Okay. So is there anything, just to begin with, and again it's okay if you haven't really thought about this, is there anything particularly unique that you will be wanting at your wedding? So something very out of the ordinary? No, okay, not that you can think of. That's fine. That's fine. Just if, for example, you both wanted to parachute out of a helicopter to the reception, something like that, or if it were, you know, a particularly long wedding. So, for example, if you wanted it to last multiple days, which in some cultures, of course, that's the norm, that's the tradition. So anything like that, but that's okay. So budget, do you know what your budget is? So this budget is the absolute maximum that you will have for everything. So that's the venue, the dress, the catering, the honeymoon, if you're having a honeymoon, everything like that, bucks party, hens night, all that. Okay, so that's a range there. That's pretty good. Of course, our job is to get you the best deals possible. We have really good relationships with lots of different suppliers, venues, caterers, florists, etc. So we can usually get you anywhere from a 5 to 20% discount on their usual rates if you do go with some of the people that we do have that really good relationship with, which of course is entirely up to you. This is your wedding. But if you have had a little bit of a look around and you've had a bit of price shock, then rest assured there are ways that we can get you some better deals. But that is a pretty good budget to be working with. Okay. So do you know how many guests roughly you will be having? It doesn't have to be an exact number, of course. Yep. Okay. Alright, that's a good number, not too big, not too small. The trend after COVID, of course, we've noticed that people are having slightly smaller weddings. Sign of the times. Okay. And the bridal party, so how many bridesmaids do you think that you'll have? Yep. Okay. And groomsmen? Yep. Okay. Right. So your guest list, are they mostly family, mostly friends? Are you inviting lots of acquaintances as well? Yep. Okay. Alright. So are you religious? Will you be having a civil celebrant instead of, you know, a religious officiant? Okay. Right. So in a word or two, can you describe what sort of theme you want to go for? So do you want beach, traditional, elegant, sophisticated, modern? So just give me a word or two to describe. Yeah. Alright, perfect. Have you had a think about dates? Do you know when you would like it to occur, or a month that you'd like it? Okay. Alright, so September or October. Is this 2022 or 2023? Okay. Perfect. Lots of time for us to prepare. So any time in those months, would you want it on a Saturday, or are you open to other days? Okay, just the Saturday, yep. Alright, so Saturdays of course do get booked out really far in advance. Obviously we've got quite a bit of time to plan that, but we will need to book a venue relatively soon. Have you had a chance to look at venues in the area? Do you have any venues that you have in mind, or? Okay, no, we can definitely help you with that. When picking a venue, usually what we'll advise you to do is we'll give you a short list of venues that we think you might be interested in, and then of the ones that you do like, we'd recommend choosing between 2 and 5, no more than 5. But just choosing a couple of venues, and you can do basically a tour of the venue. So what that will usually include is you'll get to walk around the venue, walk around the grounds of the venue, depending on the venue of course. Often they'll also include the option of having a tasting, so if you want to use their on-site catering, then they'll give you, just a selection of maybe a couple of wines, and then 1 or 2 main meals that you can sample. So what sort of venue are you looking for? So you're looking for an elegant, sort of more traditional classic wedding. So are you thinking maybe in the city, or are you thinking more out in the countryside, like an estate or a homestead or something like that? Okay, so ideally somewhere where you can have the reception and the ceremony in the same location but different rooms or different buildings. Yep. Well, there's lots of options for that, which is really, really good. Okay. Will there be any children in attendance at the wedding? Okay. And how old do you think? So many venues do have the option of on-site childminding. So if you do have parents of those children obviously coming to the wedding, that can be really useful, so that they can be close to the children, but the children don't have to be, they can still enjoy the wedding themselves and have some time away from the children. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And so with the time that you're hoping for the wedding, have you thought about if you want it to be during the day or during the evening, running quite late? Yep. Yep, so there's usually a fair bit of flexibility with these sort of venues, where you're essentially hiring it out for the whole day, so they're not going to be operating, how they normally would anyway. Like if they are a restaurant, for example, they're not going to be having any normal customers there. So it does give you some flexibility. Oftentimes people will arrive fairly early in the morning just for hair and makeup to be done on site. Setting up, things like that will often happen quite early in the morning. And then, in terms of the ceremony start and then the reception start, you can be quite flexible. So some people do want their ceremony to be relatively early, so maybe 10 in the morning, and then the reception will be, that kind of late morning, early afternoon, and then it will have wrapped up by night time. Whereas A lot of people, you know, they want it to be a bit later. They might have the ceremony kind of late in the morning or even early in the afternoon, and then the reception will be for dinner time and then go into night. So that's up to you. That depends on what you want, what you think your guests will want. So you just have a bit of a think about that. As I said, it's quite flexible. It's not something that you need to decide right now. What about a cocktail hour? Have you thought about that? So that's the period in between the ceremony and the reception. So it's called cocktail hour. It's basically just, it's basically a bit of a break. There'll usually be appetizers or hors d'oeuvres that are served, and usually some sort of beverages. Doesn't have to be cocktails, even though it's called cocktail hour, but it's basically just a chance for people to kind of walk around, mingle. It's not a formal sit down kind of affair. It's just a chance to give people that casual sort of a break in between the ceremony and the reception, and it gives people time to do like photos, things like that. If you need to change, if you're thinking about having a separate wedding ceremony and reception dress, that gives you time to change, gives you time to freshen up, just relax a little bit, things like that. So we can just put that down as something to think about. You know, there will be a gap anyway. It just depends on what you want to do with it, because you are interested in having it all in the same venue as well on site. Giving your guests something to do basically in that time is recommended. So location-wise, there are quite a few venues that I think would meet what you might be looking for in this area. So what's your sort of radius that you're looking for from here? Like what's the maximum, the maximum distance from here that you'd be willing to travel? Yeah. Alright, perfect. So that's really good. That opens up quite a few options, but still, you know, limited. I'm not going to get the loaf of bread dilemma, you know, when you're like in the supermarket and you're trying to choose a loaf of bread and there's just too many options now. There's just too many options, and so you just get this decision paralysis where there's just so many options that seem to meet your criteria that, you know, that can be really stressful. So that's part of our job, is to really listen to what you want and then only give you options, you know, maybe between 3 and 10 venues absolute max that you would look at, and then you can choose your shortlist from that. So it just makes it easy for you, you know, and if you're not happy with any of them, of course, then we can revisit other ideas. But in the first instance, just helping you to be as less stressed and just unoverwhelmed as possible. That's what we're here for. Okay, so in terms of bridesmaid and groomsmen attire, travel expenses, things like that, how is this budget going to work? Have you thought about whether you will be paying for the bridesmaids' dresses, or is that a cost that you would prefer them to do? Okay. Yeah. Well, it's there's different traditions in different areas. Yeah, some countries it's completely traditional for the bride to pay for the bridesmaids' dresses. In other countries it's the other way around. So it just depends. I think there are fewer and fewer of those kind of strict traditions being enforced. Obviously you wouldn't want to necessarily, you know, do a bit of a faux pas without realising though. So just knowing, I suppose, what is normal, being able to talk to your, you know, bridesmaids in a way that they know as well what the go is, because of course you don't want to cause any awkwardness, especially if any bridesmaids are under financial pressure, things like that. But at the same time, ultimately it's just about stopping any confusion or miscommunications from happening, because you don't want to have chosen, you know, you've all agreed on beautiful dresses and they've been selected, and then it gets to the actual purchase stage and, you know, there's been some sort of a miscommunication about who's actually paying for it. So again, not something that you have to decide right now, but just something to think about. flowers, bouquets, things like that. Have you thought about what sort of style you want? Are there any particular flowers that you definitely know that you want? Yeah, okay. So what colour scheme are you thinking? Okay, so what colour schemes have you got? Yeah, they're all quite beautiful. Definitely classic, definitely very elegant. So yeah, I mean, in terms of flowers that go with that, if you are after that more classic, elegant wedding, are you considering native flowers or all native plants? Okay, yeah. So in terms of hair and makeup, is this something that, have you got someone in mind to do that? Are you interested in doing it yourself? Yeah. Okay. So have you thought at all about how you would like to get to the wedding? So would you like to stay maybe on site if there's a venue that has on-site accommodation, horse-drawn carriage, limo? Yep. So they can really range in price. It does depend really on what company you go with, on obviously what sort of bells and whistles you want. Obviously, that is a variable cost, but we've got, as I said, some pretty good relationships with quite a few different companies in this area and operators in this area, so I wouldn't worry too much about price. What we'll do after this consultation, once I've got an idea of the sort of things that you are looking for, what we'll do is we'll draw up basically personalised brochure. So we'll give you an action plan, so basically a checklist, a series of next steps, things that we'll need from you, and that will outline sort of what we need, by what time, things like that. You know, when certain decisions need to be made by. We'll include in that, so the first step, as I said, it's going to be a venue. It's going to be one of the earliest things that you have to decide on. Venue and dates, because of course you need that venue to be available on that date. A makeup artist or a hairstylist, chances are they're going to be available for longer than the venue, if that makes sense. So yeah, after this, what we'll do, we'll put together some shortlists for suppliers, venues, things like that, and just some estimated cost ranges, and then we'll see how that compares to your budget. So we'll send you through all of this information after this consultation, and then if you are sort of happy to proceed with our services, then basically give us a call. There'll be a form as well at the bottom of the email as an attachment, so just sign that and send that through, and then if you give us a call, you can schedule your next appointment with us, and we'll go through some things in some more specifics. So that's when we'll start organising venue tours. That'll be again the first thing to decide. Then after that, we'll start making appointments for, you know, wedding dress shopping, bridesmaid dress shopping. We can organise tastings and things like that. Wedding cake, if that's something you're interested in. Photographer, videographer. We'll give you again some options for all of these different things. You know, we have preferred suppliers, but we'll give you multiple options with an estimated price. And then in that follow-up appointment, that's when we'll start really discussing, you know, who you are more inclined to go with, do you think, setting up appointments to tour venues. Maybe we'll also organise, you know, going through photographers, videographers, things like that. You can meet them, have a look at their portfolios, things like that. We'll also, in that contract that we send to you, that little agreement for you to sign, that will have a full costs breakdown for our services. So how we work is we basically charge We charge a flat rate for certain services, so there's a flat rate for unlimited consultations and appointments and things like that with myself. And then we also take basically a commission. So whatever you end up spending, you know, for the florist, for the venue, etc., we then take a percentage of that. And that will be, as I said, all in a full costs disclosure that will be attached to that email. So, your fiance, we recommend always bringing both parties where possible to these appointments, tastings, tours, etc. So I know that you said on the phone that they got called into work unexpectedly today, so disappointing, but that's totally fine. It's just to make sure that both people are on the same page, both people have had the opportunity to, you know, really get the full experience actually looking at things in person, those tastings, things like that. Looking at photos just doesn't fully replace the experience, and so to make sure that you both are very, very happy with these decisions, where possible, you know, we will accommodate changing schedules and things like that. Alright, so a couple more questions. Invitations, digital invitations are becoming more and more popular. Is that something that you're interested in, or do you still want to go paper invitations, or both? Yep. So in terms of music and entertainment and things like that, again, it's okay if you haven't really thought about it, but so at the reception, do you want a DJ, live band, something like that? Yep. And any other sorts of entertainment? So this depends on how long you want the reception to go for, what time the reception is at, you know, evening versus afternoon, etc. Just depends on what sort of style you want as well. So you can have basically any form of entertainment. You know, you could have a jumping castle if you wanted. You could have fire breathers, anything really. It's quite common, especially during cocktail hour, to have, you know, maybe a separate band or like a string quartet, for example. Something that's not, you know, that proper music that you'll be playing during the proper formal reception, but some sort of entertainment nonetheless. So we can definitely put together just a whole list of options for you to consider, and then if you like any of them, again, we can definitely discuss at our next appointment. So that's pretty much all of the information that I need right now. As I said, we'll come back with a full checklist of things that we'll need to discuss, some options for basically anything that you can think of. You know, if you do come up with any ideas or special requirements or anything that you can think of in the meantime, then of course call and let us know. Anthea will give you my business card on your way out, so you can contact me directly. But apart from that, I think we're all good to go. Do you have any questions for me right now? Okay, perfect. So we will be in touch with that form. Will probably be before close of business today, but if not, it will be tomorrow morning. Take your time filling that out. You know, I wouldn't spend too long, obviously, just so that we can get this show on the road. But you can take a day or two to really think about it. No stress there. We're not going to press you into signing anything away. And yeah, again, congratulations. This is such an exciting time. It's times like this that I just love my job so much. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day.